Good evening to the Long Meadow Select Board on July 10th. We've already opened the meeting. We opened the meeting half hour early. We had executive session. Now we're in open session. And the first item on the agenda is whether we're going to exercise our right to 61B, which is right for first refusal. That was a non-binding referendum question that came on the ballot in June. And it was whether we were going to spend $2.7 million and match what Tennessee was using to buy easements out with the Long Meadow Country Club. We've spent the past week to 10 days talking to attorneys, several attorneys, and researching the issue. And right now we're going to put a motion on the floor and we'll start with further discussion after that. Is there a motion to either exercise or not exercise the right of first refusal?
Yeah, I place motion on the table to not exercise the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. And now time for discussion. Well, one of the, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm going to vote against the motion only because I think the people in the town of Long Meadow spoke pretty effectively to us, 68% to 32%. And I understand the discussions we've had with our attorneys, I understand the discussions we've had with other people, and I understand the potential options, but I think my obligation is to support the voters in the town of Long Meadow. And I believe that the discussion was broad enough prior to that non-binding referendum that many of them knew the issues, or many of them that voted for it knew the issues and voted for it anyway.
All right, I would say that supporting the voters of Long Meadow would be not to spend $2.7 million on a piece of property that we are probably going to have to return to the gas companies to do this metering station. My understanding is that the gas companies are required to replace all the cast iron pipe that was used. It used to be in this area, coal was turned into gas and it was pumped through cast iron pipes, and those cast iron pipes need to be replaced with steel, and it's a federal mandate. And I don't believe we're going to have a chance of disrupting that. And we can spend $2.7 million and still not be able to disrupt it. So I think the best support for the town is to, withdraw, or not go any further with this motion, or with this project.
Richard?
Well, we've listened to the lawyers. Fortunately or unfortunately, the general public wasn't in on the conference calls, wasn't in on the executive sessions. But we've asked a lot of questions. We've come at it from a lot of different angles. We understand what the voters had said. It's unfortunate that the voters and the groups that were supporting this action possibly didn't have as much briefing on the outcome or the possibilities of success. But it definitely looks like, even from the Attorney General that you talked to today, it does not look like it's an easy road or an obtainable road to intervene in such actions. We're better off to go into mitigation and try to mitigate the best possible conditions that we can for our community, which we've been talking about on inspections, maybe doubling up on the inspections or doing this other stuff, which the group will be responsible for in the next couple of weeks to figure out where our mitigation points are. Mark talks about the constituency wanting to buy this land, and we've been pretty clearly told that may not do anything, because they may have the right to come in and take it by eminent domain back and just act like it wasn't even there. So we have not heard anybody that is in a legal phrase of this tell us that we should pursue this issue. I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mark Gold. And I appreciate the sentiment that 68% of the voters did vote in favor of the non-binding referendum. However, I do think there's kind of an unwritten understanding or assumption that if the town were to exercise its 61B rights, that it would stop the meter station project. I'd be curious to see how the vote would come out if the voters knew that even if the town exercises its 61B rights, we may not be able to intercede in the project. So even though I agree with Mark's position, I without some sort of guarantee that this would stop the project, I can't vote in favor of it.
I think I'm disappointed that we didn't have a lot of that information earlier, but what we discovered was that you could not segment you had to buy the whole piece. It had to be for the full 2.7. They could decide to move the project 20 feet outside that, and we're left with the 2.7. Or Pipeline can decide that they are going to take the easement from us, and they don't have to pay us the 2.7. So I think the residents felt they didn't want this here, and they felt this might be a way that we could stop this, and we understood clearly from speaking to not just one set of attorneys, but several, that this is not going to work. They right of first refusal, and that any resources, I think, that we're going to use in the town resources should be put to what we can make sure that the facility, if it's still going to be built there, will be a safe facility. So we're still looking into various options, but the motion right now on the floor is whether we're going to exercise the right of the 61B, and unfortunately, I don't feel that's what is in the best interest of the town at this point in time.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was also a conversation that talked about even trying to modify bylaws, et cetera, to make an end run on this would be totally unsuccessful. It said it just wouldn't be approved.
Well, federal preemption, I think they
Right.
said.
So there doesn't seem to be any reasonable way to stop this, other than if we had a piece of land that we could offer them some other place that fit into the plans that was out of the way that we all like, that would be ideal, but we don't have it, and there's no other location. I guess the only other one is in the Meadows, Stephen?
In the final environmental impact report, they did identify 2 other sites, but they had challenges as well.
Yeah, I believe I understood it was the DEP and the Endangered Species Act and other things like that
Well, they're
were
in the flood. I
stepping
mean,
in
they're in
there.
they're in the floodplain.
In the floodplain, yeah.
So I guess the more productive role of this board now is to pursue and try to secure the best possible working agreements that we can with this partner.
Well, I think what we're going to do is we will decide further at next meeting on whether we're going to hire attorney, what our next steps are. But right now, the question tonight is whether we're going to follow through on the 61B, and that's the motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion on the 61B, right of first refusal? All right, all those in favor of not exercising the right of first refusal? All those against not? Okay, thank you. So that is the discussion tonight so far on the metering station. And as I said, we're doing further research on it, and there'll be further executive sessions on the next step the board is going to make and recommendations. And that we'll probably continue that conversation, and most of it will be in negotiations and executive session. As soon as we do have any information, have made some progress, we will go immediately into open session so everyone will know. I'd like to go on to the next topic that we had, and let's talk about actually we'll do the emergency first. We made a declaration of an emergency on last Wednesday, was it? And we need to make changes on that. What day was it?
It was Sunday.
Sunday.
It was Sunday, oh, okay. So, and we need to make changes on that because we need to have a limitation on it?
Linda,
No, I'll make a motion that we
suspend
is it suspend or end?
suspend the declaration of emergency
Okay, I'll
at
move
5
we
p.m.
su-
on Friday.
I'll move we suspend the
Second.
Declaration of Independent, the declaration of emergency status as of 5 p.m. Friday.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? And could we need to sign something,
But
Steve?
Richard just needs, he was there, he was chairing the meeting with the
Yes.
declarations, make sure you sign it. Actually, there's another thing,
This
this
will go
is
down
an
in
unrelated
history.
thing that Mary
That's
needs to
right,
sign.
it's all you. There we go.
This is a big one.
That's not related, you just have to sign it.
Okay. Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, all right. I'll be talking about that on Monday.
Okay.
I need to borrow a pen now. And now, we
Yeah.
put on the last minute, there was a change.
Okay. he was back.
Yeah, it's signed.
It's There's a change in the agenda we put on last minute today, because we just found out in the building meeting that there were 2 change orders that really need to be done immediately, because we need to keep people working down there. And without the change orders, it would cost us more money, because work would cease on some of these projects. So there are 2 change orders. Everyone's received the electronic versions. Were you all able to access it? And the first one regards work they had to do on the water main, excavate, demo, and remove existing water meter pit and furnish a new 6-inch line with new valve per guidelines. And that change order is $33,787.29, and due to our policy, that has to be voted on by the building committee and also the select board.
All right, I'll place a motion on the table that we approve that change order.
Just as a clarification, Marie, the document we just got says it's $36,858.20.
Oh, the one sitting in front of me, did you send?
36.
The one Stephen just sent us
858.
says $36,828.20.
Oh, I didn't see page 2, no? That's,
Well, page 2 is actually 33,787,
You-
but page 1 is
you
a
opened
different
them.
amount,
Yeah,
36,858, yeah.
This is,
you're right, Tom. Page 2 on this is even a different amount.
oh, I see it. Okay,
It's-
yes, that's what I was looking on page 2.
It's markup
So
and
it is-
bond costs for the general.
Right, so the total subcontractors is 33,787, and then there's more markup, and then additional bond costs. So the overall cost is 36,858.20.
Okay, is that a motion?
There is
to
a
accept
motion.
that?
There's a motion, I'm
You
just
did that?
correcting it.
Was there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess I don't understand, and I acknowledge we just got this literally 5 minutes ago. Can somebody just explain what this water meter is and why it was unforeseen or unknown, or what this is about?
So we're, for the domestic water in the facility, we connected to our town's water. We went across
On William Street.
off of Converse Street.
Converse Street, right.
Went in on the parcel of land that's there through the site. But for fire suppression purposes, we had to tap into the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission's line that is in Dwight. And my understanding is that that line isn't where it was supposed to be on the plans, and to connect to the, once they figured out that the line wasn't where it was supposed to be, it required a change to make the connection. That's my understanding. And if Richard, if you were understanding different, that's my understanding of it. So this is really for fire suppression.
Is there a reason we didn't bring in a large enough pipe to do both potable and fire suppression water off of Town of Long Meadow line?
There is. I don't remember off the top of my head. That was a while ago. That in fact, that was in even, I think, even before we went out to bid, I think that decision was.
Preliminary. I can't remember who did.
Yeah. I don't know if it was a
recall you
pressure.
talking about
I don't know if
It was pressure, it was pressure. You
Yeah.
said there wouldn't be enough pressure from the Long Meadow, so they had to go to Springfield. And it was not really an option. You know,
Yeah,
they
they
were saying
did
for
pressure
fire
tests for
safety,
both, and yeah.
It had to be.
So we're gonna have a
from
separate
Springfield.
meter in case this ever.
I know. We did not want to be customers of the Water and Sewer Commission on this building, but there were pressure tests, and then they went back and did it again. I mean, I remember there being a lot of effort put into figuring this out. So the idea that we were going to make this connection was already a part of the base project. It's just when they finally got out in the field to do the connection, the main wasn't where it was supposed to be.
So this is really to connect it there instead of there, or something?
Or I think on the other side of Dwight Road, quite honestly.
Yeah.
And Springfield maps were wrong.
No, but it, I mean, we always intended to tie
Yeah.
into the Springfield for the water, fire suppression, just we gotta tie in someplace different, that's all.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
No,
All those in favor accepting the change order? Okay, thank you. The second change order, did you pull that up?
So the second
You wanna
change
tell us
order
about
is,
it?
there's a letter from Colliers, who's our owner's project manager, making a request for additional funds due to the delay. Their contract is actually expiring because everyone thought the project would be done by now. And then I pushed back on their request a little bit, and they reduced it slightly. And so the actual amount is in the body of the email.
400, 498.
So it's, I have to get the email open.
Or 405.
101, 268.
And then if you look at the email, I think it's 94,000.
It's a pretty good request considering I don't think they didn't suffer as much as other people suffered when the contract shut down. I didn't hear their discussion on it. How did they justify that, Stephen? I mean, basically, they're just office time and
But it's-
supervision
It's an
of,
extension of their contract.
well, I understand what it is.
Right.
But they didn't do any work when the thing was shut down
Well,
either.
they did tons of work when it was shut. When we were dealing with the asbestos, Colliers was doing
Well,
a lot
that's
of work.
different. That's different. That should, I guess it would have been better if they delineated it that way and brought it in that way.
Okay, I don't think they're looking for extra money for the work they did. I think they're looking to extend the contract at
Correct.
the terms that they're proposing because their contract expires.
Right. And what I'm saying, there was periods of time when we were shut down that nobody was doing anything though.
That's not true. There really was never,
Boy.
there was really never a time when we were shut down, no one was doing anything. We were always, especially Weston and Sampson and Colliers, they were always working because they were doing a lot of the analysis and processing of the change orders for the ACM work.
It appeared that there was a reduced workload since construction wasn't in effect. The requirements.
Which is why the request went from 101 to 94, because that's exactly the point I made to
All of the things of the
them.
construction, I mean, we just did get a
Yeah.
clerk of the works over there just last 3 or 4 weeks ago?
I did indicate that there wasn't the same level of work,
Right.
which is why the amount was reduced.
Yeah, okay, because we never had a clerk of the works over there for the whole job anyway, up until just very recently, so,
We did, it was just, it was an environmental clerk of the works.
yeah.
What's the name of this document?
And I think they're
This
changing
is-
some
Well,
of
that
the
goes-
scope of what they're doing.
Yeah, whatever, because that goes back to the fact we couldn't even tell how many trucks had been in and out of there.
I
That's
just
when we said,
have a
where's the
different
clerk of the
number
work
on this
position?
one.
You know, that's what we were paying for, we
Yeah,
checked the
okay,
contract, it
now.
was supposed to have been in there. Okay,
It was in
fine.
Ermile? Okay.
Any other questions or discussion?
Where's the money coming from?
I can say, at this point in time, we're going to have to exercise that little portion of the bond that we have not issued. It was $1.3 million that we had not issued in the original authorization.
And that's where the bond costs you put into that,
No, there's nothing to do with the bond costs that are related to the change order number one.
this change order.
We haven't gone out to bond for any of this yet, have we?
No, we bonded the first 19+ million dollars.
So now we got to go out for another,
We'd have, right, the authorization was for 21 million, we went out for 19.7 or something. We did that last August, or September, October, but we did not fully go up to the 21 million. We would have to exercise that, that extra portion to go up to the full 21 million that was authorized.
if I can just finish, Richard, do you anticipate we do that coincident with bonding the
Oh, yeah,
adult center? I mean,
absolutely.
We're not going to issue a
No, we
separate
don't want
bond
to
for
do it
1.3
separately. We want
million.
to, we'll tag it on when we go out to bond for the Council on Aging, so we don't incur the additional administrative costs of going through that motion.
Do we have any bonds that are finishing up this upcoming year?
We have smaller bonds that we've taken out, the fire truck as an example that we purchased, it's drastically reduced, but nothing of a large sense that is permanently bonded, that's coming
Yeah.
off our debt service. It's all the bands that we've been rolling over, smaller amounts that will be coming off our debt service amount.
And they don't come up to 100, do they?
Do they come up to 100?
Yeah.
They're not going to come up to 100 basically because you just borrowed a ton of money at the annual town meeting. So the 100 that you're thinking of
Yeah.
taking from there really is needed for the next round of
Next round.
bands that we've, closed the DEP site, streetlights, those types of things.
Okay. Richard?
Yeah, I think it's well worth noting, not for here, but for the people out in TV land, the pain is not over yet on this project. I mean, we've been delayed 9 months, and everybody that was on contract is entitled to some reimbursement for this delay. The contractor's suffering with contractors that he had, subcontractors that have got out of their contracts because they got to do other work. So the costs are just escalating. We will see more change orders brought before this board. We can just tell you right now, this thing's been delayed 9 months.
I wouldn't use the word entitled, but the reality is, there's going to be a claim or a change order resulting from the delay that the town is going to have to figure out with the general contractor and the OPM. We're actually engaged in that process now. The building committee has been somewhat involved in that. There's obviously disagreement about what the value of that claim is and how much is, should be fairly paid as a result of the delay. But Richard's right. This is not the end of it.
Yeah.
And in West End Sampson's, I'm sure going to have additional costs that weren't built into their engineering contract for construction. I know they have. I mean, we've already paid some of that, but actually we haven't. They have one in for the environmental work that they did during we're figuring out the ACM issue. So it's sad. It's depressing as hell, but it is the truth.
Well, I'm not afraid to use the word entitled. That's not a negative word. They are entitled to reimbursement for these massive delays because they didn't create them.
I know, but they have a contract that says they're not entitled to money for delay. We
So
just have to
there's
work it out.
Further discussion.
Right.
Just further discussion on that.
And our OPM helps with the battle.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll just make the board aware that even with the additional 1.3 that we can borrow, we are going to be up against that brink. So it's a potential that we'll be going back to town meeting for some additional funds at some point in time.
Will we know that in the next month?
No.
It'll be a couple of months.
Probably a
from
couple
now.
months
You
in.
can guess on it.
I would guess by the springtime, you'll know the amount you need.
Oh, but I thought he said, not fall town meeting then.
Probably not by the fall town meeting.
Okay.
I mean,
We
I
have
don't
to
know
build the
what
building
Okay.
to really know the full extent of it.
But for the delays, though, that should be all ironed out and solved by
And
then.
I don't know how much those delays are going to add to it, but
Right.
it's certainly going to chip away at those funds that we currently have
So
available.
you're concerned that we don't have any contingency dollars right now, period.
The last time that I looked at it, had about $750,000. We just, 125, 130 we just spent right now. And I know the contingency that they originally had in their, the general contractor's agreement, that whole contingency was virtually wiped out, if I recall correctly, to take care of the asbestos. So they're going to want some other type of contingency built in. If we limit them to a couple $100,000, we'd be all set, but,
What was our original contingency? Do you remember,
was it
Stephen?
$900,000
Was
in
it
that
900?
vicinity?
And we had $2 million in bond savings, in bid savings.
Mhm.
So but for the ACM material,
Mhm.
this project would be
Maybe
in
all
great shape.
But for that little issue of the assassin, how was the play, Mrs. Lincoln?
Yeah.
Well, when there's a big project, one of the key people are expediters who make sure that everything is there so that when it's time to be put in place, it moves in place. So is there any hope that with the delay that things are lined up a little bit better so that we can build this project more efficiently?
It's been moved. I mean, there's been a lot of work out there. The ACM issues continue to pop up and add to delays. DEP has been as cooperative as they possibly can be, while still fulfilling their role as a regulatory agency. They're getting ready in the next few weeks to start pouring footings and foundations, and I think in the next, I'd say 8 weeks, you probably see something coming out of the ground. And so we're just starting to move. It is starting to move forward, but as Richard said, it's not the town's problem. It's the general contractor's problem that their subs are walking away from the project and going to different jobs. We don't have a contract with the subs. We only have a contract with W.J. Montfort. But if they can't get people to come there and perform the work, I mean, there's a challenge for them, but ultimately it adds to our delays. So, like I said, I don't want to convey that everyone is disappointed and stressed out about how this has gone and what we look at in terms of our available funds to complete the project. But everyone is also still committed to getting it done as quickly and as efficiently as we possibly can. And honestly, I would lump W.J. Montfort in that category too. We don't agree on everything, but they're there every day trying to keep this thing going forward.
They want to get it done.
They wanna
They
get
want to
it
get
done.
out of there. Anything else on the motion that's on the floor?
So
The change order?
This is for $94,500 then, which is what's in the email, not what's in the quote.
I don't think we ever put a motion on this one.
No, we didn't.
Okay, is there
Yeah,
a
I'll place a
motion?
motion that we approve change orders submitted and as recommended by the building committee.
Can you just include the amount in the motion for
Yeah, what was it,
94,500?
Yeah, $94,500.
And is that the right amount, Stephen? Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it. I believe that's the right amount, right?
Yeah, it was in the email. He amended the amount from the letter in the
Yeah.
email.
Okay.
It came down,
All
so.
right, any further discussion?
Judge, I just would say the Colliers as our OPM is really doing a very good job. And they even know that dealing with the ACM was completely outside of the scope of their contract with us. They went ahead and did it without complaint anyway, and so I don't want to make it feel like, yeah, it's tough to have a soft cost change order for almost $100,000, but they've been doing a good job, and I really think that the project is in good hands.
He's not only a great worker, but he's also a Long Meadow taxpayer, so I found that out.
Yes.
That's good.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? All right, thank you. Anything else that we needed? I think those were the only issues.
Are we going to cancel the next executive session? We don't need it.
Oh, afterwards?
Yeah.
I believe, yeah, we're just
We're all
going to go
set?
to
Okay.
Monday on
I didn't,
that.
I mean, I can do this Monday night,
Mhm.
but if you, I don't know if I wanted to just.
Oh, did you want to go through the negotiations in
No.
the executive session?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I want to just talk about Saturday night, Saturday evening. We kind of, you did the declaration, the sunset on the state of emergency, the declaration. But I thought it was worth noting that what precipitated the need to declare a state of emergency and what that does for the communities, in case anybody is watching on a Wednesday night. But I can do a Monday night, in the regular meeting. But I want to thank the board for really being responsive in having an emergency meeting was called. Because it's an emergency meeting, it did not have to have the posting requirements on the open meeting law, and it was able to be done through remote participation. And all 5 members of the board made sure that they were available to get together to vote to declare the state of emergency, which really is mostly an administrative act because it helps the town be able to finance and process work better in our recovery effort, which is why we're leaving it open until Friday at 5 because we are still in recovery operations. But it was an important step for the board to take. So thank you.
And Monday you will go, and we'll talk about it further
Yeah.
in your town manager's report.
Yeah, and just the heroic work of our public works and public safety, public works and public safety departments, truly heroic. But we beat on the utilities quite a bit. Eversource, I thought, was every bit as heroic in their efforts and their response time and how really short of a period of time the town was without power, considering what had happened.
I want you to say all that on Monday, because I don't think many people are watching tonight.
It's fine.
And then
Right.
even if anyone is,
I
tomorrow
wanted
is
you all
the-
to know that
Yeah.
for sure, but yeah, we'll talk about it Monday.
And groundbreaking, if anyone is watching, is tomorrow at 11 o'clock on the new adult center. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you if you're watching at this meeting we have, and we will be Monday, and it might be our town manager's last meeting, so be sure to tune in. Thank you.